We are going to do a combined Facebook Live, Periscope. I love it. I love it that you guys get to come into my house, into my office. And we have a whiteboard today. So, going to be doing the training on the whiteboard, bringing back the professor days that I loved so much of the whiteboard. So, are we live? Okay, awesome. Welcome, everyone. We are setting up. We have a little change of background today. We have a whiteboard. So this is totally reminding me of my professor days when I used to teach at DeVry University. I had the microphone, but when I taught at DeVry, I could not wear jeans and flip-flops. So I'm really happy about that today, doing something a little different. So what we're going to talk about today is we are going to talk about how to determine what your dream job is. So this is something that I have been talking about all the way back to 2012. I was looking at what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk at the end about my Get Unstuck system. I'm going to walk you through it, 7 steps. But I created that in 2012. And so I'm really excited to bring it back. I haven't talked about it at least in like a year or two, probably 2 years. So I'm excited to bring it back. There's a lot of new people around the Classy Careerville community that have probably never walked through that system with me. So whether you're in a career and you're feeling a little stuck, you think you might want to do something else, or you're just want to grow, you want to develop, you want to be successful in your career and always be ready for that next thing. Maybe within a year, you might want to change, or you might just want to do something maybe that matches more of your potential, or make more of a difference in the work that you do, or be a little bit more excited when you wake up in the morning to go to work. Like all those little things factor in. And so what I'm going to teach today has a lot to do with what is going wrong in the online job search these days. A lot of people are making a lot of mistakes when they do start their job search and not doing anything that I'm about to talk to you about today. So all this stuff is really the beginning. So if you're beginning, or if you want like a refresh of your job search, this training is going to be perfect for you. Most people are jumping online, they're updating their resumes and they're applying online, and they're just submitting their applications over and over again with no luck because they haven't done what we're about to do today. So a few different things that I'm going to touch on today. We're going to talk about some of the factors that lead into your career satisfaction. We're going to talk about your calling, how to figure out what your calling is. And then I'm going to go over my 7-step Get Unstuck system. I'm not going to talk about resumes. I'm not going to talk about cover letters. We're not talking about interviews, none of that stuff, because getting unstuck really has nothing to do with that. Once you figure out what your dream career is, then it's so much easier to find it. You are going to be more successful in your interviews. You're going to be more successful out networking. You're going to be more successful in your actual career because you know what your dream job is. You'll be able to convince them so much more. Your passion will shine through during an interview. So getting the job is so much easier if you actually know what your dream career fit is first. So that's what we're tackling today. If you do know someone who is struggling with their job search, who is starting a job search, might want to start a job search over the next year or two, maybe even someone who, maybe want to start a business but doesn't know exactly what that business could be, please invite them, share this with them right now. We are completely live, so, it's fun. We're gonna go back and forth. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear the light bulbs, the things that you're learning, and make this more of a dialogue too. My husband, John, is here, and he is in the Facebook live stream, so he's reading comments. He's hopefully welcoming you guys in. So if you have any comments or questions, feel free to post there. And do we have anything so far, John, or should we dive into the training?
Dive in.
Dive in. Okay, we're going to dive in. Okay, so this goes back to my college professor days. I taught a lot of this stuff back when I was working at Booz Allen Hamilton as well. I was a professor in the company, so I actually taught the new hires all of this stuff that we're going to talk about today, or some of this stuff. Some of the stuff I created after I stopped working there. And then a lot of this stuff that I worked as when I was teaching at DeVry University for college students. So just wanted to this is all whiteboard, you know, all the stuff that I used to do as a professor. So this is fun to bring it back if you didn't catch my earlier comment here. Okay, so let's dive into the factors that lead into your career satisfaction. And I'm going to ask you a question. So there's 3 factors that lead into your career satisfaction. Number 1 is your interests. And I'll explain all these in a little bit. But first, I'm going to kind of walk you through them. Then number 2 is your motivations. And number 3 is your skills. So my question to you, I'm going to explain all these, but I want to ask you a question. I want to hear what you think in the comments. Which of these 3 do you think is the most important factor in your career satisfaction? Is your interest the most important factor, motivations, or your skills? So share in the comments. I'm going to dive into what each of these are, and then I'll share at the end what is the most important factor in your career satisfaction. And just real quick, all of these are factors that are in the career leader assessment. So if you're looking at getting some sort of assessment, looking into, you know, maybe you want to understand a little bit more about yourself, this is all in the career leader assessment. This is what a lot of companies use. A lot of universities tend to use like the Myers-Briggs or the DISC, but actually most of the companies that I've seen have used career leader assessment. So just throw that out there. If you want to learn even more, you can Google career leader. So let's dive into these 3 factors of your career satisfaction. So number 1 is your interests. So your interests are those things in your life that you can look back at your childhood and see that you were interested in those things as a child. So I'll give you a couple examples of mine, because as I've done all this self-reflection of getting into my dream career, I've had to look back at my childhood a lot and ask myself this question over and over again. This stuff is not easy, it's not quick, you're not gonna figure out what your dream job is overnight. It's a lot of thinking, a lot of quiet time, a lot of journaling. So some of my interests that when I look back as a child are helping people. So when I looked back as a teenager, and even in middle school too, I was always the one that my friends would come to ask questions. You know, they would ask me like, how do I get better grades? How do I get into college? You know, even they would ask me like dating advice. So I was always like that helper when I was a child and when I was like growing up. And so obviously, you see me here today, you know what I do, right? At Classy Career Girl. I love helping people, so that's still today. So when I was in my former career though, as a consultant, I was not doing much helping. I was doing a lot of financial management, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, pivot tables, and that helping people did not exist in my career. So I wasn't that happy. I wasn't that satisfied, even though I was doing a great job in my career. I just didn't have this interest in my job. So I knew something needed to change. Another one of my interests is influence. And so I love influencing others. When I look back at my childhood, I see that I started like a Save the Earth Club, I think when I was like in 4th grade. There was one other person in it. So we were really saving the earth. We would walk around and tell our dads that they needed to shorten their shower time. And we thought that that was saving water. So we were saving the earth. But just like a funny little story to kind of show you that my interest today, influencing, you know, going out here on social media, being live with you guys on Facebook Live, I want to influence you. I want to help you find your dream career. Just like as a child, I wanted to save the earth. So looking back at your childhood, kind of putting together like what are you really interested? What do you want to learn more about now that you also did as a child? So that's number 1. Number 2 is your motivations. So the motivations are something that are really, really important to have in your career. It's not the only thing you want, but those are the things that are going to motivate you to do great work. So many different people are motivated by different things. Some people are very motivated by money, so they will work harder if money's on the line. I am motivated by helping people. I'm motivated by seeing the results that they get, getting the thank yous below emails or below videos that I'm doing. You know, so a lot of people are also motivated by influencing others or also by helping others. So there's a lot of different ways that you can be motivated. A manager is often motivated by being the boss, by telling other people what to do, so they really enjoy that. So the thing about motivations that you have to remember is that your motivations can change throughout your lifetime. So that's key for motivation. So when I graduated from college, I was motivated by different things than I am now today. When I graduated, like I was motivated by a challenge. I was motivated by the company that I was working for, how prestigious the company was that I was going to be a consultant at. I was motivated by money. I was motivated by getting raises. I was motivated by getting rewards and that good job from my boss, and that people would tell me that I would do a great job and that I would help people. Fast forward to today, I'm more motivated now by flexibility, by autonomy. I want to be my own boss. I want to tell myself what to do. I don't want someone else to tell me what to do. I don't care as much about money right now. I'd rather have more time with my family, with my 2-year-old daughter. Obviously, if you've watched my story over the past 5 years, I've made a lot of changes that have matched now my motivations more, because I've gotten so clear on what my motivations are. So you just want to make sure that your motivations are clear in your job. And then the third one is your skills. So we all have skills that we are skilled at, that we do a really great job at. So that could be like, what do you get rewards for? Like, what do people tell you that you do a great job at? This is something where you might want to ask other people. You might want to just go to your friends or family or coworkers, your boss, or look up your last assessment if you have assessments at work. See what people said that you excel at, that you do great at. And that's just something that you want to be aware of, but you do not want to go into a career based off what you're good at. And so I'm a prime example of this. Years ago, I graduated college. I did great in all of my finance classes and my economics classes, and my college counselor told me, oh, you should go into finance because you're good at it. Like, look at your scores. You're getting all these A's in all my classes. Why don't you look into that? So I was like, okay, well, my dad's in that. Like, I guess that's what I should do too. And I went in that direction. And it was great for a certain amount of time. I got promotions, I got raises, and then, just obviously got stuck in my career because it didn't match all these other things as well. So that's important to know too. You don't want to just find the career that you are skilled at. So I would love to hear what are all the votes coming in at, John, as far as which of these is the most important in your career satisfaction? What are people thinking?
Yeah, so we have Kristen Lee says motivations.
Motivations.
And Victoria Hill says, I think maybe number 1, interests. My reason for this answer is because I feel you need to be interested in your career to be a success.
Okay, that was Victoria.
That's Victoria Hill. We had a couple people over on Periscope using your GIFs. So they went outside the box and picked a different option than...
I like that, though. That's kind of wraps into skills. I would say your gifts are your skills, too.
And a couple other people said interests on Periscope. Cool. And that was it.
Okay, awesome. Well, research has shown the big answer is your interests. And that is because your interests are with you through your entire life. And your motivations can change. So if you chose, for instance, for me, I chose what motivated me 10 years ago, but they changed. So I can't just pick my motivations. I have to go off my interests too. And then your skills too. You can't just pick based off your skills, because you might not actually be satisfied using those gifts and using those skills too. So the most important thing is your interest, but obviously all of them are extremely important. That's why there are 3 of them that I wanted to make sure you guys got today. So let's dive into the next thing that, any updates or admin stuff we want to take care of before I dive into the next thing, John? Are we good? Oh, make sure you share this if you know a friend. I think I mentioned that before, but it doesn't hurt to say it again. So our mission at CCG is to help 2,000 women launch their dream careers and businesses by 2018. So by you sharing this with a friend, we're accomplishing that mission together. It's not just CCG's mission. I'm a huge fan of community and helping each other out and supporting other women too. So if you have another female in your life that you want to share this with, please let them know. Share it with them today. Okay, so let's go into your calling. So very similar to kind of what we were just talking about. Let's see here. This will be interesting as I draw this. Okay, so your calling is right here, and it is the intersection of 3 other things. One is very similar to what we were just talking about, and that's your proficiency. So your calling is right here. It's based off the intersection of your proficiency, your passion, and profit. So before you get scared about the money word, we'll talk a little bit more about it. But just overall, your calling, it's optional. You don't have to go towards your calling. It might be a little work, but it's also personal. It's unique to you. I'm the only one that can, stand up here and be talking to you like this. There's certain things about me that I'm called to do, just like you have a very different calling. So it's very personal. It's something that's also appealing. So it's not something that you're not excited about. Oh gosh, I'm called to do that, but I'm just not excited about that. That's not your calling. You're totally excited. Like this morning, I got up before my alarm went off because I was like so excited for this moment. I was excited to do this, in my jeans and my flip-flops, but you're excited to do your calling. I'm excited to blog. I'm excited to podcast. I'm excited to do these videos and teach and train. So think about that too. It's personal. It's unique to you. No one else is like you. So the 3 things, let's talk about proficiency first, because that's very similar to what we were talking about. So that is your skills. And I think it wasn't Victoria, it was someone on Periscope said, your gifts. So you have to be able to do a good job at it. So some things that you want to think about, like what do other people say that you're good at? We talked about that. What are you getting rewards for? And then also, what are you most proud of? So that is a really good question that you should ask yourself as well. Like, what makes you proud about the work that you do? Like, what would you go home and tell, your mom that you did that day? And if there's nothing, like, then it's kind of that eye-opener, like what would make you proud? Like, what type of work would make you proud? The mission I just told you, like, that makes me proud. Like, can you imagine if I could help that many people find jobs they love and launch their dream businesses? Like, I would be so proud, but I'm also proud with helping 1 person or 100 people or anything like that. So think about what makes you proud as far as your skills as well. And then it's your passion. So passion, the P word. So passion is thinking a lot about your interests. So very similar to what we were talking about previously. And it's also thinking about, like, what do you daydream about? What do you enjoy learning about? And then also, these are 2 really big questions. The first one is, what would you do if money wasn't an option? And what would you do if you knew you could not fail? Those 2 questions are really, really big that factor into what your passion is. So if I didn't get paid, I would be doing the same thing. And I figured that out when I needed to get paid, so I had to make that transition, but that's how I knew, like, blogging could be a job for me because I just would do it all the time. I didn't need to get paid. I would do teaching, I would do training, I taught as a professor, and all that stuff I would have done no matter what because I just like helping people and teaching people. And then also, what do you daydream about? What would you do if you could not fail? So make sure that you're thinking about this. Fear holds a lot of people back. It's like very important to tackle, to figure out, because you don't want fear to hold you back. It can just really keep you grounded and not reaching your goals and dreams and not putting you in the right direction of your dream career. Because sometimes it is a lot of work, and sometimes, you have to worry about what other people think and what other people are going to say, but you have to get over that. I know my husband and I have done a lot of that over the last 2 years. when we both quit our jobs to grow our business together. And a lot of people thought we were crazy. They thought we were even more crazy when we decided for 6 months to pick up our car and start driving across the country and spend 6 months, you know, with friends and family and enjoying life and working on our business together. So people think you're crazy. Some people will support you, and those are the people that you want to spend the most time with, because they're gonna help you become the best version of yourself and reach your dreams and goals too. So passion, passion, passion. And then the last one is profit. So you got to make sure that you can actually get paid for whatever it is that your calling is as well, because otherwise it's not your calling. It could be your hobby. It could be something that you really enjoy doing when you get home from work. That's totally fine. You do not need to get paid for it. It can be a hobby. It can be fun. If I never figured out how to turn my blog into an income source, it would have been a hobby. You know, it's a hobby if my blog is not bringing in revenue, and that's totally fine. You can have a blog like that. But I knew I was called to make a difference and make more of an impact. And so that's why I was able to figure out what those 3 things were to lead into my calling, and what I could actually make a profit from. And so obviously it applies to a business. I couldn't start a business if I couldn't figure out how to profit from my passion and what I was doing. But then also if you're searching for a job, you know, you have to make sure that that company would pay you for what it is that you have your proficiency and passion for too. You have to make sure that, you know, if you go to salary.com, like, is there a salary for this type of job? Will a company pay you? And if not, you know, maybe you need to reevaluate the type of work or change a couple things up as well. It's also important to figure out what is that salary you need to live. This is really important before you go on any interviews or anything like that. You need to go to your budget. You need to make sure you know, like, what are your expenses? What is that income you need, so that you're ready for that question when it comes down to it too. So can your passion and your proficiency and your calling actually provide the income that you need to live too, right? So that's really important to think about too. So I think I covered all of them, but just a reminder as far as your calling goes, that it is optional. I mean, I could have not gone in the direction of my calling and not been here with you today, not be helping people, not be changing lives. I could be sitting in the cubicle updating my financial spreadsheet and updating the pivot table, and that's fine. I just would not have realized my calling. And so that's my passion right now, is really helping you realize your calling too, and going towards that direction of something that, you know, you're really called to do too. That's kind of my personal mission on earth as well. So that's your calling. Do we have any questions that have come in about that, John? Or comments? He's just listening. He doesn't even, he's not monitoring. He's thinking about his calling as well.
A lot of people are commenting on Periscope, just saying, great job, this is really important.
Thank you. Yes, it is.
And important to follow your passion. Working for a purpose, is a big deal. Like, actually having a purpose, they're saying.
Yes.
And maybe you didn't feel that purpose when you were updating Excel spreadsheets all day.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, just lots of great feedback. No
Awesome.
Questions.
Okay, good.
Nobody has any questions, so.
Okay, well, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them. But then, yes, keep the comments going. We want to know, you know, what you're learning, what those light bulbs are, what the big eye opener is for you too. And if you are enjoying this, it sounds like we do have a lot of people enjoying this. If you want more information, if you want to dive deeper with me, we do have our Dream Career Launchpad course that we are giving away for $7 today. And that's our special for this Facebook Live. So if you want to dive deeper, you can go to www.classycareergirl.com/launchpad. And that, I love this course. Like, this is like my dream course too, because it gives you the first 5 steps that you need in order to launch your dream career or your dream business. And so I realized when I was starting helping people like this, that I was like jumping into resumes and cover letters and LinkedIn, and I was like missing this huge gap of like the first steps that people needed to conquer before they got into all the resumes and stuff. So that's why I wanted to give that to you guys today for only $7. I think John will be posting the link in the Facebook live stream as well. So let's get started with...
Victoria has a question.
Yes.
What do you do when you have several interests and being pulled multiple directions? How do you choose in a situation like that? And I think a lot of people feel that way. I have a million different interests and I wear a million different hats, and I think a lot of people probably feel that way. Like, how do you pick which one to focus on?
Right. And we're going to go through the Get Unstuck system, Victoria, and I think it's going to give you a lot more clarity of what you should do. But the most important thing that you're doing is you're actually taking action towards them. So maybe that's in the evening. Like when I was in my day job doing finance, like I had this interest of creativity and writing and blogging. And so I was doing it in my spare time at night and in the morning. So that's one thing, is like actually doing it and seeing if it sticks, seeing if you continue to do it over and over again, if you're realizing success with it. And then also, I don't think you necessarily always have to choose. I know John and I both are interested in so many different things, and it's actually coming true in our business that we're like have our hands in all of them. So, you know, interested in photography, well, we take pictures. We're interested in video editing, like I do all of our video editing. You know, interested in writing, well, I'm also writing and editing. And so I think there are certain careers out there where you're doing a lot of your interests, and the goal would be to do a lot of them in that career, like the job description. Like, how many of those interests can you fit in that job description that you're applying to? I always recommend to people in my courses that in the very beginning that they're creating their own job description. So instead of just jumping online and looking at other people's job descriptions, like what's your ideal fit? Like what's your ideal job description? And then after that, it's matching that into the right career fit for you. So, you know, I was interested in, if I'm interested in video editing and blogging and, you know, creating videos and teaching, well, how can all those things be put into one career? And then as you'll see, as we get into the Get Unstuck system, you'll actually be talking to people and networking with people, so you can ask them questions like, what is your typical day? You can ask them those things so that they can tell you if all the things in your ideal job description matches what their job is. Like, is that ideal career fit for you? I did an informational interview with a lawyer because I was interested in going in that direction. It had, in my view, it had helping people as a lawyer. And when I asked him his typical day, it didn't have all those things that I was interested in. So I realized, like, that's probably not the direction that I wanted to go into. Looking back, that would not have fit me very well at all, I don't think. But I didn't have to waste like going to law school and taking the LSAT and all that stuff because of that informational interview and asking him what his typical day was and how it matched up with all of my interests. So let's dive into the Get Unstuck system, and I think that will give you even more clarity, Victoria. And let us know if you're liking the whiteboard. This is the first time we've broken out the whiteboard today. Okay. So the yes.
T. Marie says, I've been at my current job for 9 years, tired of sitting at a desk all day, not happy anymore. Where do I start my happiness? Where do I start? My happiness is fashion, plus I'm an introvert. So maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a great lead into the Get Unstuck system. I think the first thing, if you're unhappy, you do have to add some gratitude into your day. I know it's hard, but you do have to be grateful for what you do have right now. So for you, I mean, yeah, you do have a paycheck, you do have a stable job where you can start investigating your other interests and fashion. And who cares if you're an introvert? I'm an introvert. You know, look at me, like I'm teaching you guys. There's so many ways that you can get out there and meet people individually. If you're an introvert, I highly recommend you do informational interviews. It's one-on-one. You get to prepare for the informational ahead of time, so you know exactly what you're saying. And I know as an introvert, I want to know exactly what I'm teaching. I'm not winging this. I prepared this. Even if I'm doing speaking events with a group of people, like I'm very prepared. So I think it's using your introvertedness as a benefit. If you're an introvert, you're a really good listener. I'm a really good listener. And so that's a benefit. There's positive. I have a blog post on Classy Career Girl that I did one time about all the reasons I love being an introvert. Like, there's great reasons to love being an introvert. So just don't let that hold you back, and start taking action with this Get Unstuck system that I'm going to teach you right now. What was her name? Marie? T. Marie. So this Get Unstuck system I have been teaching since 2012. I haven't taught it in a while, so it's kind of bringing it back, and we're refreshing it for a lot of new people, I think, that have been in our community over the last year or two. But basically, it's the 7-step Get Unstuck system to help you get your career unstuck and find the job of your dreams. And we're not talking resumes, we're not talking cover letters or anything like that. This is kind of like those first steps that you need to take. And the first letter of every word spells out unstuck, which I'm really, really excited about. So, hey, I created this in 2012, and it's like my staple. Like, I've never changed it. And I think that the whole like arena of job searching, and I have changed so much in these past so many years, that I think it's a real testament of the system that it works. It's worked for thousands of my clients. And so I love that I have something that's like stable, that doesn't change like every year or something. And this is that one thing. Okay, so the first step is to understand you. Okay, so a lot of what we've just been talking about with your motivations, also with your interests, your skills, and then also your calling. So it's some of that, but the most important thing here is to really understand your personality, because not every career fit is the right fit for every type of personality. So I always recommend I do a DISC personality assessment with all of the clients that come into our course, which is the Love Your Career Formula. So figure out if maybe you have taken a personality assessment, maybe you haven't, but that's really where I would start, is really figuring out, understanding yourself, your strengths as much as possible. And then also what's important about understanding yourself as well, the first step is evaluating your current situation. So just like T. Marie was saying, she's kind of stuck in her day job, what I would recommend is that you think about why you're stuck. You think about what are those things in your job right now that you don't like, and what are those things that you do like. So the key really is we're going to just head in the direction of those things in your job that you really, really do like. So for me, when I was back in my job and a little stuck in my finance career, the things I didn't like were Excel, calculators, like, the finance part of my job. But what I loved was teaching people. Like, I could teach all day long about finance. I could teach about pivot tables. I could teach about, all the specific things that I was doing in the government and with my clients. I loved that part. I loved I was on the training team. I became an adjunct professor at my company, like all that stuff. I loved it. No matter what I was teaching, I loved it. So figuring that out is really important. Like, what are those things you don't like? What are those things you do like?
Thanks for sharing. Hello, Camila. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for sharing, guys. Yes, share this with your friends who are stuck. It's my mission. Let's get everyone unstuck and happy and fulfilled in their careers. Okay, so number 2 is very similar. It's nail your mission. I think we had someone on Periscope, you said, John, who was talking about your purpose. So that's the same thing. Like, what is your purpose on earth? Why are you here? If you had a year to live, what would you do? What is your mission? I shared with you guys what our mission at Classy Career Girl is, to help women launch their dream careers and businesses, 2,000 women by 2018. But your personal mission it can just be, helping others. It can be motivating others. I'm giving you mine because I know that one very, very well. But, it's using your gifts, your talents, your skills to help the world. So what is your mission? That's really the second step. And then the third step is to self-reflect. Every single thing that we have talked about today, your motivations, your skills, your personality, your calling, your interests, and then also thinking about your ideal workday. I love this activity. If you have not done this, you need to do this. You know, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, if it was your ideal workday, what would you do? Well, you know, what time would you wake up? What would you do first thing? Where would you go to work? Do you want to work from home like we do? Do you want to go to a big fancy office? Do you want to commute? Do you want to drive? Do you want to take the train? How do you want to take your lunch? Do you want to go out to lunch? Do you want to go out with friends? You know, do you want to eat in your cubicle, which I doubt anyone really wants to do that. We all have to do that, right? When we have too much work on our plate. But it's all about like designing your ideal life, designing your ideal career. And then as we go in this system, you'll start talking to people to see if those careers fit your ideal workday. Same with your ideal work environment. You know, not everyone can work from home and wants to work from home. It really fits me and John, like this is our ideal work environment, but it's not for everyone. You know, a lot of people like the whole big team atmosphere. Do you want to be in this really big room with people everywhere? Like, does that motivate you and inspire you? Is that your ideal work environment? You know, is your ideal work environment an office? Is it a co-working place? Are you by yourself? Like, really figure out what your ideal work environment is. So that's the most important part, is really just self-reflecting. Number 4 is targeting your job search. So this is missing in a lot of people's job searches, the whole targeting part. And so I always recommend to everyone who is in my Love Your Career Formula course that you really start big. And so I always recommend starting with like 20 careers, potential career fields. So if you have a lot of interests, you know, if there's a lot of things that you want to do, like what are those 20? Start big. And then you start narrowing them down, and really maybe then they go to 10. And then you find 10 careers that would be really good fit for you. And this is all about investigating. So there's one place I recommend going if you're investigating career fields. I love onetonline.org. They have a lot of great information if you're investigating what career field you should go into. And it's really about investigating. It's really about seeing what's out there. It is looking at job description. You can look at LinkedIn as well. They have a ton of different job descriptions out there to really figure out what those interests are and how they meet potential dream career targets for you too. So this is really about targeting the job itself. And then also, while you're doing this, I always recommend looking at companies too. Like, how can you target certain employers? What are those employers that you would really enjoy working for? You know, there's 2 different types of employers, right? There's like, you know, the Facebook type of employer. Like maybe you want to work for a company like Facebook, or maybe you want to work for a small startup or a company like Classy Career Girl, or a company more like, you know, IBM, which is, you know, more formal. And possibly a little bit more strict, and you have to, you know, you can't wear jeans and flip-flops probably if you work there. You have to wear a big, you know, a navy suit, but that's exciting. Like when I started my career, I wore a suit every day. Like I loved that. Like I loved the power suit. And now they're in my closet, but I don't wear them every day. But that's just part of me changing as well. So figure out, you know, where you can target your employer and where you can target that ideal job description as well. Okay, so 5 is to uncover issues. So this is a really important step. You want to make sure that you uncover any issues with that dream job before you actually get into it. So you want to make sure that, one, like, can you get paid for it? You can look at salary.com and figure out, will you be able to get paid what you need to get paid? So I always recommend kind of looking at your budget, like I said, figure out what your salary needs to be, and then figure out what that salary is for that dream job. Like, can you actually make enough to you know, pay your expenses? Like, we want to make sure you can do that, right? So really figuring out if there's any issues as well with like the economy, if there's anything going on with that type of industry. I know when I was working for the government as a consultant, like there were good times and there were bad times to work for the government, right? Not all the time was a good time to apply for a government job. Sometimes it was a great time to apply for a government job. You get hired right away. But other times you could get hired and fired within like a week because of how unstable, you know, the payments were for your salary, that you're relying on the government to pay you. So just think about that. Think of uncovering any issues that could come up. And this is also a good time too to uncover like the reality of that job. Like, how many jobs are there in your state like that? How many jobs in your location? If you don't want to move and all the jobs that you want are in LA, but you don't want to move to LA, well, that's part of uncovering the issues that might be associated with your dream job. So just really figuring out like how many jobs like that are there out there. And then the next one, okay, we are on 6. I wanted to make sure I'm like spelling this right. I don't want to say it says unstuck and then it doesn't actually say unstuck. That would be a little embarrassing. How are we doing, John?
Great.
Okay. Okay, so let's finish off the unstuck system. Ideal career outline. So it's create your ideal career outline. So all this stuff before we have even applied to any job, updated our resume, nothing like that has happened so far. Now we're going to create our ideal career outline, which really is a combination of everything that you've learned so far in steps 1 through 5. So basically you're going to have a 1-page document. You're going to write down everything that you know about your purpose, your motivations, your interests, your skills, everything that you've learned about your ideal workday, your your job targets. So maybe you've narrowed down them to 10 or to 5. All that stuff you want on your ideal career outline. And this is what you're really going to keep front and center when you're applying, when you're updating your resume, when you're doing interviews. See, all this stuff factors in on you becoming so much more successful on interviews because you're going to have this ideal career outline like right in front of you when you're doing an interview. So they're going to ask you, we just posted a podcast today, which was an interview with a recruiter. And one of the things she says that she looks for when she's interviewing candidates is she wants to know their skills and their strengths like right up front. Like, you got to communicate like 80% of the time on an interview is what she said. And so if you have this ideal career outline, you are like ready to communicate. You're ready to let them know your passion, your calling, you're ready to let them know why you're excited to work for them because you've done your research targeting them. You've done your research on the career field and you know why that career field fits you best. So that's why it's so important to create your ideal career outline. And this step as well, I like to also add in that this is really the step in our programs where you create your personal brand as well. Because at this point, you understand yourself a lot better. You know where you're going and you know what you want, which is something that most people don't know when they're job searching. So at this point, you know yourself so that you can start creating your personal brand online and offline. So when someone you meet at a networking event, you meet them, your brand matches when they pull you up on LinkedIn and they go to friend request you on LinkedIn and maybe even hire you someday. You want to make sure that that brand is everywhere. Same thing. You're showing them who you are, what you have to offer, your passion, and they can see that through a LinkedIn profile or an elevator pitch at a networking event. Okay, step 7 is to kick it into high gear with networking. Okay, networking is so important. I know you probably already know this, but I have to remind you that networking is the result of 80% of people finding jobs is through networking. It's not through online job searching. It's not updating your resume. It's actually getting out there and talking to people. So what it's actually going to do, it's going to give you so much more clarity when you get out there, when you start talking to people. And by this time, you really do know a lot about who you are. You're starting to create your personal brand. So now is really the great time to network. You have your elevator pitch. You know how to introduce yourself. You know the networking strategies and the networking events that are going to best help you find your career target. And also you're doing informational interviews. So informational interviews are when you contact people in career fields that you're interested in, and you just ask them questions about their career, what their typical day is like, you know, what do they enjoy about their job? How could someone like you find the same sort of job? How did they begin? What do they recommend are your next steps? What books can you read? I have done thousands, I don't know about thousands. I've done hundreds, we'll keep it at hundreds, of informational interviews when I was trying to figure out what my dream job should be. I was applying, I was working on my resume. I didn't know what I should do with my career. I didn't even know if I should become an entrepreneur. And through doing informational interviews, in 2011, I did so many informational interviews. I did a networking challenge where I met with 4 people I did know and 4 people I did not know every month for the entire year, and figured out what I wanted to do with my life. So that's why it's so important. I'm a huge, huge, huge proponent of networking. So that is our Get Unstuck system. So I hope that provided you guys with some clarity today. I have no idea what time it is or how long I've been talking, but I think we still have some time if you guys have questions or if you want to share any of the light bulbs that you've had. One more time too, if you guys want to take this any further with me, you know I love to teach and train, and we have a lot of stuff for you guys that's even more than what I've been sharing today. So if you're interested in getting started in our Dream Career Launchpad course, we're doing a special promotion for our Facebook live stream. So it's only $7, and you can learn more about that at www.classycareergirl.com/launchpad. And I think John has shared that link in the Facebook live stream as well. So we want to help you launch your dream career or your dream business. Do we have any questions that have come in, John? Everyone gets it? Very cool. Okay, well, remember to share this with your friends. They can watch the replay. It should be available on my Facebook page. And I also will upload this video to my YouTube channel as well, Classy Career Girl on YouTube. So you can get it there if you missed any part of it. But this has been fun. Like this.
Demi Love says hi.
Hi, Demi Love. Can always count on you to attend these training events. I love it. I got your email. I'm proud of your career moves too. You're doing a lot of fun things as well. So I hope this has helped give you some clarity. I had a ton of fun because I haven't talked about this in a long, long time. But as you can see, I'm passionate about this topic too. So thank you for being here. Thank you for asking a lot of the questions that have helped me figure out, okay, what should I teach? Because I base what I teach off the questions that you guys are sending into us. So if you have any questions, post them up below. Obviously, there's probably a lot of people watching who are scared to go public on Facebook. So if you do have a question, if you need more help, you can email us at info@classycareergirl.com, and we can kind of walk you through it a little bit more. And hopefully we'll see a lot of you guys in the Dream Career Launchpad course as well. And I think that's it for now. Any other last minute things that I failed to mention, John?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
Awesome, guys. Well, like I always do, I will be back in the comments. I always go through all of your comments after our live event. So if you had any questions, if we missed anything, I will be reviewing them later. So thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.